Hello everyone, welcome to the North Brunswick Public Library. I am Miss Val and this is a Crafty Kids. So for today we are going to be making flowers out of book pages. So this is actually going to be probably the hardest craft I've ever done with you guys. One of the main supplies you will need is a hot glue gun, so please make sure that before you even attempt this craft, you've got a grown-up's permission to use a glue gun, okay? Or a grown-up there to help you out for the very last steps of this project. So, one of the main other things you'll need is an old book. So this book that I have here is a book that we used to have on our shelves for people to check in and out of the library. However, it got checked out so often, and we had it for so long, that the pages fell apart. So we are going to be using these old pages in this book that we really can't use anymore to make a cool craft. So you will need an old book, the hot glue gun. You will also need a pencil to mark off your measurements from your ruler. You will need some scissors to cut with, and I've got a little toothpick here. I will show you what this is for at the end. You could probably get really crafty and really clever and come up with a different item to use for what we're using this for. If you need to, that's up to you. Whatever you've got lying around, you could just use a pencil tip, you could use the clip on a pen, we'll figure it out. So I will show you what we're doing. Let's move the camera down. So here is our book where the spine broke right in half and we can't use it anymore. So what we are going to do is very gently lift our pages up and out of the book so it peels just like a bit of notebook paper that's connected with glue, like on a legal pad. So we're going to pull out these pages, and I will show you what we're doing. We are going to measure on this page 4 inches by 4 inches. So we're going to make a square. So this is 4 inches this way. And this, let's see, this is 4 inches this way. So we're going to follow the line to make our square. Follow our line, and now we have our 4 inch by 4 inch square drawn in our pencil. So you're going to need 4 of these for each of the flowers that we're making. I have already cut out and folded 4 of them, but I wanted to show you the step-by-step example. So we have 4 inches by 4 inches, and we nice and carefully cut out our square. With most regularly sized books, you can get 2 of these 4 by 4 squares out of one single page, see? So you'll want to set this aside and save it if you're making one of these. So we've got our 4 inch by 4 inch square. We're making 4 of them. And then once you have that, what you will be doing is folding it 3 times into a triangle. So we meet 2 of our edges right in the center. We want to make it nice and precise lines. One of the really good ways to do this is to flatten it with the ruler you just used. So we're going to fold 2 more times, lining up the corners, getting it as even as we can, and flattening it out again. There we go. And one more time, lining up our corners. All right. Got it? So, when you're done, you will want to have 4 of these little triangles. And then what we will do, you will take the bottom, not where the four corners meet, the bottom that is in the center where everything is connected. See? This piece. You're going to cut off the edge. You can round it a bit, and it doesn't have to be too far over. You just want to cut off the edge so that when we unfold it, we've got a circle in the middle. So that's one cut that we're making. The other cut we want to make is to make somewhat of we're making our flower petals. So you can draw it to be safe. We want to start a bit down here, and we want it nice and rounded. Alright, so we just drew a sketchy little line here of where we want our cut to be. Then we can follow that line, cut out the top. Alright, so we have our rounded flower petal, and when we unfold it, it's going to look like this. Alright, I hope that was easy enough to follow. So you should have 4 of these, alright? So that is what I pre-prepared for you guys. So I have 4 of them as well, and I will show you. I will be doing it in real time with you guys now. So you can pause this video while you get all 4 of your pages ready, but it's going to be 4 squares from your book that are 4 inches on every single side. And then you will have 4 flower petals. So we're going to do some more cutting here. The next step that we do with the cutting is that we will be separating them into different sizes. So let's see if I can explain this in a way that makes sense. For one of these, we are going to cut it in half. Basically what we want is that we want sets of these flower petals that are different numbers. So we want one that is 7 petals, 6 petals, 5 petals, 4 petals. So here is our 4 petal one. We just cut it in half. We can do 3 and 5. 3 and 5. So we can put 4 right between them. We can do 6 and 2. And you just cut along the lines that you folded already. So we've got 6 and 2. We can pile them up. And then we want 7 and 1. So, whoop, 7 and 1. So you should have a pile of flower petals. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7. So you should have an extra one with 4. That can be set aside and used for something else. You could just throw it out as scrap. That is fine. So we are going to take the 1 and the 2. We will set them aside for right now. We are not going to mess with them. And we will start with our biggest one. We will start with 7. And here is the part where we now need our hot glue gun. So for each of these rings of petals, we are going to overlap. So they are going to look like this. So even though there's 7 on here, when we overlap it, there's going to be 6. See? So we're going to put just a little bit of hot glue, and again, make sure that you have help from a grown-up for this part. Let me show you guys what I'm doing. Make sure that you've got help from a grown-up. Make sure that you are being careful not to burn yourself. Okay. So here is 1 flower with 6 petals. Now we are going to do this for all of the other ones except, like I said at the beginning, except for the 1 and the 2. Those we'll be doing something else with. So let's get to 6 petals. We will be turning it into 5. Move your your excess glue off to your scrap pile. Okay. All right. And we fold it up. And we press it down nice and gently so we don't burn ourselves. Ow, ow, ow. I always end up hurting myself a little bit on hot glue guns, so I want to make sure that you guys are more careful. Alright, so we've got 6, 5, and we just keep going down the line. This one's got 5, and we're going to turn it into 4. And I'm just about at the point where I need another glue stick, so good thing I grabbed an extra one. Make sure you've got extra ones on hand if you need them. And again, always get a grown-up's help with something like a hot glue gun. This is the kind of craft that I put up on YouTube because it's not the kind of craft I can do in person with you guys. We just don't have enough people to help everyone be safe if we get a big group of kids, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're at home with your parents, or your babysitter, or a family member, anyone who is looking after you and who's in charge, there's one of those for every 1 or 2 of you. Much easier to stay safe that way. So there is our next one, number 4. We can start just piling them into each other. This is sort of a sneak peek of what our flower is going to look like when it's done, but of course it's going to be even cooler than that. Alright. Just kind of press my hot glue out with the new glue stick. Alright. And you want to try and work fairly quickly so that you have them folded down before they start to dry, which is another reason why a grown-up should be helping you out, because they have a lot more experience with working quickly and still being safe. So there are 3 petals. We just keep piling it in. Alright, we have 1 more. This is going to fold, just completely fold it over. So these 3 are going to turn out looking like just 1. Last bit of hot glue. Press it down. And we fold it over, press it down, Try not to hurt ourselves. Alright, I think I did all of that without once burning my fingers. This might be a first in Miss Val history. You guys know I'm pretty clumsy. So this is our last one that gets glued, but we've still got 2 and 1 right here. So the hot glue gun is all done for the time being. So if it takes a while to heat up, set it aside, but don't turn it off just yet. If it's one that heats up right away, you could go ahead and unplug it if you wanted. So let's go from the smallest one outwards in that case. So this is what we're using our toothpick for. And what that is to curl up our pages so that they look like a blooming flower. Having a hard time getting this one started. What if we start from this side? Will that be easier? Much easier to start from that other side. So with the 2 small petals, with the 1 and the 2, we're going to curl them all the way around in a big circle like this. See? We'll do the same thing with this one. We will just keep rolling it all the way along. And then we will pull it out, and we've got a nicely curled. These look like flower petals, or the very middle of a flower petal. And then, for the ones that we glued, we'll be doing that same thing, but just with these rounded tops. And we're going to be going outwards. Just a little bit. Like that. Just as much as we can. Not the whole way, obviously, because if we kept going, that would rip it apart. Now it's going to be a little tough to curl the petals on the ones that have hot glue on them, because they're going to be a lot stiffer and tougher than normal, but you can still get a little bit of a curl. So that is what my smallest petal looks like, and then we just keep doing that. So again, you can pause me and come back later because this takes a little while. Or you could use this time to catch up with where I was earlier. Look at that. So we're just going to go along. Each one gets curled outwards. And then you can just pull the toothpick out and let go if you want it to be really tightly curled. But if you don't want it quite so tight, you can do it this way. If you want to avoid the stiffness in the ones that have glue, you could just put glue down by the bottom instead of covering the entire thing like I did. That's totally fine. And in fact, it might work even better. So here is one. Now, if you're having a hard time with this, don't feel bad either. This is tough. I've made quite a few of these, and honestly, I still need to go back and remember what the instructions are. I still need to make sure that I count everything during every single step to make sure that I'm not missing anything or that I didn't mess something up. So don't feel bad at all if you mess up the first time, because if you're using an old and broken book like I am, look at all these tries you get. All of these pages. Like I said, most books, each single page is going to give you 2 of those 4x4 squares. So every 2 pages in a book like that is a little paper rose. So if the book is 300 pages like this one is, this book is exactly, let's find out. This book, oh, the final pages aren't numbered. This book says that it is 383 pages. That is almost 200 of these little paper roses. Can you believe that? So if you mess up, don't feel bad at all. You have so many tries left to get it exactly the way that you want it to look. And if you found a really big book, you could make the squares even bigger. You could make them twice as big. You could do 8 inches by 8 inches. And you could just keep making flower petals until you couldn't anymore. They would be so big. That part was really hard, that spot with the hot glue. So hopefully it'll look okay, even though I glued it all the way up to the top. Alright, so here we are. This one is going to be our bottom one, the biggest one. And so this is the part where we get the hot glue back out. You are going to nice and gently put some glue around the middle. Let's see. You're going to try and get a circle all the way across. I'm at that really difficult spot, switching over to a new glue stick. And then you stick your new flower petals right inside, squish them up so that the glue sticks. And we are starting to build our flower. Look at that. We do exactly the same thing for all of these layers until we get to the very little ones. Those are going to be a little bit different. All right. And then we squish it again. Far in there as you can get it so that it lays nicely and looks kind of natural. This is the hot glue petal, so it looks a little bit funky. But if we give it a little bit of bend with our fingers, in addition to the toothpick we used earlier, it starts to look a lot better. So now we have what really looks like a flower. Just a couple layers left. And stick it right in. Make sure it attaches. And like I said before, give the hot glued one a little bit of help if you think it needs it. So curled in like that. We have an almost finished rose. have our hot glue petal. A little bit of help. Let's try and pop it open so it's nice and circular. Okay, almost done. Just barely enough room left to get a dab of glue in there. So this, of course, layering all of these flower petals is the part where if a grown-up is going to take over, where they should step in. Because it is the one where you are most likely to get a little burn on your fingers. So now we are at the 2 smallest petals. We're just going to put a dab of glue on the bottom of it and slide it in the center. And same one with this. A dab of glue on the bottom. Slide it into the center. Oh, I slid it into the wrong center. Whoops. That's okay, as long as you take care of it before it can dry. One more time, dab of glue on it, slide it into the center, and you want to try and flare it outwards like this. You can stick your pointer finger in there, and you should have a completed book flower. So, let's take a look at this. It is a little lopsided, so I could definitely use some more practice. But like I said at the beginning, we have so many pages to use to practice from. And the thing that makes this so cool is how unique each one of them is, and how different they all look, and how you can really read what's on there. You can see that it says increased and landed. You can see Owen's name. You can see the author's name. All kinds of fun little hidden surprises are in these book flowers, and that's why I love making them. So, I hope you had a good time as well, and that you loved making and helping and watching me make this on your end. So, I hope you'll join me again soon for a different craft. I would love to see your own take on this craft. If you post a photo of your final product in the comments, that would be so cool to see. And thank you for watching. Goodbye!